What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Nick, and we are here today to talk about our tips and tricks for Middle-earth: Shadow of War. So before we go into it, I just want to let you guys know this is the first video of our Middle-earth: Shadow of War video series. So you need to leave a comment on one of these videos in order to win the giveaway. So make sure you do that. We're going to have quite a few of them, but this is the first one. So we're going to go through just some, base level tips and tricks. We're going to have a lot of other videos for this game as well, and that'll be more specifically talking about different aspects, whether it be skills or the fortress assault or things like that. So this one is just going to kind of be, open, very like anything about the game we'll talk about. So Nick, what do we want to talk about first here?
All right, my first tip for Shadow of War players is how to get XP and skill points quickly. The fastest way to get XP I've found is just like spamming the story missions. There's a lot of different kind of missions in Shadow of War, but any of the story missions on your white missions on your map will definitely give you the most XP. And skill points you can get from leveling up, which you should about once a story mission, and also another way to get them is through the Celebrimbor missions on your map. These are the ones, they look like a helmet on the map.
And another thing, actually, that can help you earn as you're going is for missions, there'll be the bonus objectives or like the sub-objectives that'll pop up as you're playing. Sometimes they'll pop up like in the beginning, like here's what you need to know to do. But sometimes they'll pop up as you're playing it. So it's important to at least be aware of that. Because that way, you could definitely get more. There's you'll get a certain amount of stuff for every mission, everything that you do, but the more you do, the more you will get. So just make sure you keep those in mind as you're going through.
Yeah, and it definitely gets, the rewards for the bonus objectives get better and better as the game goes on. The next trick I have for you guys is, at a certain part, once you progress through the story enough, you will unlock challenges. They're in the mission section. They're just another kind of mission. But the challenges, they're weekly and daily challenges, I believe. And they actually give you things like gold and gems and anything valuable in the game. But you can actually get the real money currency for doing some of these challenges. So you definitely want to go and check them out. They're usually pretty easy to do.
Okay, so when you're traveling through the world, this is kind of just more of a convenience tip or trick, is you will see the pop-up of the X button or A button or whatever it is on PC. And this kind of triggers the game to speed you up, whether it be through climbing, whether it be through running, and you can chain them together through just by clicking it over and over. And obviously as you get further through the game and you're able to do it for longer, or you get the double jump where you kind of spin, those are very important. But the running in this game and the kind of traversing the area is a little different than most games. I think if you've played the first game, you would already know that, but it is a little different. It's kind of a little clunky, but if you can chain the climbing things together where it'll do the double jump for you, and it'll light up blue. That's easily the best way to get from one place to the next in this game, because otherwise it kind of goes too slow, in my opinion. Okay, so a big part of this game, obviously, is finding the Orc Captain. So that's the biggest. The Nemesis system in this game is very good. It's an improvement over the first game. But if you've played the first game, you would know some of this stuff. But things to keep in mind when going after captains is, firstly, you'll want to actually do that quite often, because those can get you lots of different things. They can give you armor, they can give you weapons, they can give you XP, they give you skill points. So the more often that you kill them, and the higher levels they are, the better, really. But when you're going after them, you're going to want to keep a couple things in mind. Firstly, is you're going to want to interrogate, because you're going to want to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. You don't have to. I think as you get further up, though, and it gets, where they have more, when they have more strengths than weaknesses, I think you should probably make sure that you're doing it, because you're going to want to know, what do I need to do to kill this orc? And another thing is, in this game, they've kind of expanded it, where a lot of times they'll ambush you. You won't see them coming. Like they'll do a lot of cool different things. Like they'll literally just walk out of the shadows and it'll say ambush. But when that happens, you're kind of at a disadvantage, which is exactly what you would expect from an ambush, which I like. But there is a couple things you can still do. You can still like identify the person, the orc, as when they're talking to you. If you hit R3 on whatever controller it is, it'll bring up their strengths. Now that isn't, you know, the best thing in the world, but it's definitely better to know their strengths than to know nothing at all. Then maybe you know, all right, I can't use an arrow, like that won't work because I know that his strength is, there is no use to do that.
Time, so you don't, I don't know if you've used arrows on them when it doesn't work, but they just bounce off and break off.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's just a waste. Or maybe you can't jump over them, or maybe they get enraged by executions, and then maybe you don't want to do that. So it's better to know.
Like I said, like at the start, it might not matter, but later in the game, when you make one of those mistakes and they take your health all the way down to 10%, you know, it definitely pays off to learn their strengths and weaknesses before. And adding on to what Alex said about the captains, as some of their strengths and weaknesses will be for or against things like elemental damage or beasts, like fighting beasts and stuff. You always want to make sure when you're playing to not just like run in and start chopping stuff up with your sword every time. Like there's a lot of options you have to start a fight every time. You know, there's Caragors in cages. There's Grog around that you can poison or explode. You can, you know, later in the game when you can dominate, you can go around a big fortress that has a bunch of archers and dominate them and, you know, activate them all at the same time. You know, make sure to like go slow and try to plan out your battles and use all the tools that they give you. All right, our last tip for you guys is about the inventory. Shadow of War has a huge improvement on the inventory from the first game. You get lots of different kind of weapons and armor. Later in the game you also get another thing that I won't talk about because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But you're going to constantly keep getting these throughout the game, and they scale with whatever level you are at the time. So you want to make sure to constantly be going in your inventory and switching stuff out. Cleaning your inventory up. You can dismantle old equipment for the in-game currency. The only thing that I'd suggest against getting rid of is the legendary stuff, because you can upgrade that up to max level towards the end of the game, I think.
And when you're doing this too, and when you're keeping track of your inventory, like Nick said, like dismantling is very good, gets you more money, which is always good to have. And another thing you could always do is you could look to upgrade. And for upgrade for each specific weapon or each specific thing, there's challenges, unlock challenges they call them. And you're going to have to complete those before you actually do it. Now, when I first did it my first time, I just upgraded it. And I told Tyler, and he was like, well, how'd you do that? I'm like, it just let me. But no, it doesn't actually just let you. Everything has a challenge to it, and you have to do the actual challenge. And then when that unlocks, you can upgrade it. Very little amount of money required to do that. And it upgrades it quite a bit. I've upgraded a few of my weapons, and it brings it up by quite a lot of attack. And obviously it has a couple, you know, boosts to it that each of them says, you know, like your stealth attacks always apply curse. So like there's things that each weapon, each you know, armor provides you every time you upgrade them. So it's good to keep those in mind. It's also good to keep the gems in mind. You can buy gem slots for things for each individual category, and then there's all different kinds of gems, and you may have, you know, a certain amount of them. You can combine them. So there's a lot of different stuff you can do. The inventory system is very big, I think. It's bigger than the first game. It can get a little confusing, but once you kind of read it and kind of simplify it, it gets much easier. All right, so that has been Nick and I's tips and tricks for Middle-earth Shadow of War. Again, we have a lot of videos coming out. We're going to have a video a day all the way up until Sunday. So we're going to have more specials, we're going to have a review, and we'll go more in depth about specific, you know, ways of playing the game, different aspects of the game that we didn't touch upon in the tips and tricks. You know, Tyler, Nick, and I, whenever we get a chance, we're also broadcasting, so you can watch us play it live, either on YouTube or on Twitch when it works. So you can watch us play it there, and we'll be around for the next little while covering Shadow of War. So we hope you guys have liked this. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below to be entered for a chance to win the game. Go watch that giveaway video for all that information, and we will see you guys tomorrow for our next Middle-earth Shadow of War special video.